Hello friends, you're the Lonesome Gamer, and I'm still playing 7 Ages. At the beginning of the last video, I thought, hey, that would be probably the end of the game, but now it's looking quite different. Japanese was discarded, and that means now that it's quite a way to go to the finish line. So we're definitely going to see a few turns. Apart from that, the most important thing that happened is that we have here now a world war, and that changes things significantly. First thing is, the cost of all the units is halved. Second, you can place as many units as you want in your areas. So there is no limit there during production, like you can only place as much as the level of your city or something like that. This is no longer the case. In addition, and this is basically the most interesting point here, during trade you move only one space ahead if you win that trade, and you don't move automatically at the end of the turn one space on the progress track. So that means if the gray player, in example, because he's in the lead, if he wants to finish this game, he cannot simply wait until he somehow makes it there, or do maybe 2 fast trades and then jump there. He has to trade now step by step by step, and that is really a long way to go. The Americans have a +2 trade modifier, which is good, very, very powerful. But the Americans are actually a little behind. They're still in age 6. The Vietnamese would be here. Of course, we could also go with a strategy. Let's say we trade the other empires, like this one, for example, more to the end, by losing all the trades we do. The gray player could trade with, I don't know, the blue empire, the Portuguese, for example, lose all the trades, and in that way push the blue player ahead. But there is always the option for the blue player simply to discard the empire, and then all the effort is gone. So I think the gray player has to rely on its own trade abilities, and somehow has to try to make it through the 7th age. But that can take now quite a while. So in addition, during the planning phase, a lot of diplomacy was going on, lots of negotiations happened, because obviously the situation changed dramatically. So we had to form coalitions here somehow. I mean, obviously we want to stop the gray player, and maybe the red one, but the first target is definitely the gray player. The red one doesn't have those powerful empires. The Zimbabweans are doing fine, but they are not, these are not empires that give you 5 or more points per turn. The Arabs might do that, especially because they are Islam. They might generate a lot of points, but in general the gray player is much stronger than the red one, at the moment at least, simply because he controls the United States and they are extremely powerful. So we had now some considerations to do. Well, first, the Germans thought about becoming Islamic and then starting to attacking the Russians and gaining points that way. Sounds basically like a good idea, but then we see that the green player controls the Russians, the Portuguese, and the Italians. So the green player is definitely the power in Europe. And if these three empires work together against Germany, Germany stands there without a chance. I mean, there is nothing they can do. It's not going to be an easy task for the green player, I think, but in the end, simply the economic power of the green player will win this battle. The Arabs, they are threatening the Russians. Basically, they don't have any other enemies they can attack because they are all Islamic, and that would cost them glory points if they attack other Islamic empires. But the Russians are Christian, so that is obviously the target they're going to choose to gain glory points. So it's not going to be that easy for the Russians to fight on two theaters, once against the Germans and against the Arabs, even with the Italians and the Portuguese. The green player will probably have to use all his resources to fight them both back. He might win that, but it might be a long, long battle and lead to a stalemate. And that is, I mean, nobody wants that, right? Because in the end, the winner would be the grey player, while all these other countries are fighting each other. That is definitely a very a big advantage for the grey player, that he is here with the US kind of isolated, and he feels really safe. A little bit like the Japanese did, but he has even more resources to fight back an invasion. So they came to the following agreement here. We want to do a big invasion on the US. Basically, the Portuguese, the Italians, the English, they want to make a coalition and attack the US. The Portuguese, they want to have colonies, so that's a good chance for them to gain colonies. The Italians and the Portuguese want to be the biggest Christian player, which would be completely impossible because the US control such a big empire, and the Russians are also Christian. So if they want to have a chance to get a point for these for being Christian, it's a good idea to attack the US here. Now the English, they compete with the Americans for the money and for the fleet. So they have this common enemy. You know, there are many, many reasons to fight the Americans. Most of all because the grey player is in the lead, and it's the most powerful country possibly. Okay, what do the Germans get out of this thing? I mean, if they now all gang up against the Americans, the Germans might simply say, okay, then I can do my attack. But they made a deal here, and that is the Germans are allowed to move here into Dacia and Thracia, and they can also, that gives them here the oil, And they can also have the oil here in the North Sea. And then in addition, if they build a ship, they can also have the oil here in the Appalachians and maybe even Texas. But these are spoils. I mean, we don't wanna deal about with the spoils before we win the battle, right? But that's basically the idea. You know, they can have at least one oil of the Americans, the oil in the North Sea, and this oil here in Dacia. And that's basically, that gives them a lot of advantages. They want oil, they want a homeland, they want to be big in Europe. But let's say, even if they don't attack the Russians, they can still be second biggest in Europe, which gives them a lot of points. So that would make them actually a pretty powerful country. And without investing too much, you know, I mean, they might build a small fleet and help a little bit attacking the Americans. But in general, compared to the others who will probably have to do the main work in this invasion, they are on a pretty safe side here. Okay, so let's see what happens. The first player is now the yellow player. We start with red, starting an empire. And, well, now we have to make a decision, and I'm not sure actually what I want to do. I could now either start the Ottomans. I could start them here in Cappadocia. The red player also controls the Arabs, so he doesn't have to fight them. But well, it's going to be hard for them to generate many points. He definitely won't be the biggest Islamic country. So getting a point for Asia is also going to be very, very hard, because he's cut off by the Arabs. So basically he has to move into Europe. And there he might get... okay, there is a chance to get 2 points out of it. But it's going to be very, very hard. It's not a good empire at the moment. He will probably only gain 2 points, maybe 3. I mean, if he's second biggest in Europe, and I think that's the best he can hope for, he would get 2 points. And that's basically, that's not good. So I'm thinking about the pirate state. The problem is they start with little money, with 20 minus 8. That's only 13 bucks. On the other hand, ships are cheap right now, and you know, we have this I mean, we have a world war, so we would gain 1 per conflict, 1 in sea or ocean area. That's kind of cool. I really wonder if I should do that. Maybe it's a better idea to start the pirate state instead of the Ottomans. Actually, I think it is. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start the pirate state. I just have to find a place for them. Okay, actually, we can start the game with a massive fleet. And I think I'm going to start here in Venezuela. And we also can afford these. It's amazing. I mean, this thing costs only $1 now. That one costs 2. So overall it's 3 because of the World War. And the ships would only cost 4 because of the pirate state. They have a special bonus. So one ship only costs $2. That's absolutely amazing. So that means now they can simply do it like this. This gives them also control over this oil resource, but they cannot use that because they're still in age 7. And I don't know, in age 6. So, we got to see about that. On the other hand, yeah, I mean, we can do some attacks here on these guys then. The majority of the American fleet is in the Pacific though. So I thought about moving maybe somewhere here, but maybe I can use the Panama Canal. Maybe I can make a deal somehow with the English there. But first I got to place a capital here, and yeah, then I'm happy. Okay, so this is definitely going to be an interesting option for the red player. We're going to see another starting empire, and this is going to be the Swedes, or Swedes, I don't know actually how they are spelled. Well, they start with $18. It's not going to be easy for them to really generate lots of points, but they want to try it anyway. And he doesn't have another option right now, so he's basically the only one, the only empire he can start. They would gain points for being big in Europe and for having colonies, but only if they have the most colonies in the world, so it's not going to be easy. They also want the biggest fleet, so we will definitely see a competition here with the English. That's for sure. Okay, they have a setup of -5, so that is the same where these where the pirate state started. Okay, it might sound crazy, but this is the starting force of the Swedes. Simply because their initial ship cost only 3, and because of the World War, they can now produce so many units. They actually have chosen to take the light brown. Well, but that's not possible. I see that now because French is still in play. Damn it, I've taken all these French units. I cannot take them. So I gotta take dark brown. I could also think about, I think I'm gonna take bright yellow, because the bright counter mixes have more counters of than the dark ones, and in this case they can produce that many units. It's probably an advantage to have a light counter mix here. So here we are now, and light blue has the most ships, so that means that these units are here to protect Sweden from an invasion, and all these counters are an impressive pile of ships. So we're going to place these guys here. Okay. Now that is a powerful ally for the US. If If the Italians, if the Europeans basically want to attack the US, want to do an invasion here, they will have to battle probably the fleet of the Swedes, and this is going to be a tough enemy. Okay, now we can start the last empire for this turn. The Ethiopians, they come back into the game, started by the pink player. They start with a lot of money actually. They start with 21 bucks, that's fine. Well, it's not that great, but it's cool. And they have a, let me see, where is that, -4 modifier. 1, 2, 3, yeah, that sucks. That lets them start right into this dark age here, but anyway. Yeah. Let's start these guys. Okay, so here we see now the starting force of the Ethiopians. Also really impressive. So that could also mean a hard time for Zimbabwe. Okay, there we go. And the Ethiopians show up here. Now let's see, what else will happen? Yeah, that's just the starting phase, and now we come to the production phase. And who's going to do a production action? The Portuguese. They will do a production action. So let's see what they get. Well, that's 2. And that's 6, so that's 8. And I think that's, that's wheat. So that's 12, 13, 14, 15. 1, 2, 3. So they gain 10 bucks. That's not that amazing. But it's also not that bad, I guess. Yeah, okay. I wonder if I should throw in one of these cards. 5 additional bucks for a copper mine, maybe. Yeah, why not? Let's do that. Okay, so that gives us then 16 bucks. And, well, let's see what we can do with it. Okay, so the Portuguese ended up with these units here. So some units to defend their homeland. A small fleet. And maybe they can actually load some of these units onto their ships and then do an invasion here to the US somewhere. Okay, let's see what happens now. Yeah, I was wondering if I should do... I think I'm going to do a production action with the Russians, simply because there is this threat of the Arabs here. They have already produced, so we're probably going to see an attack here onto Russia, probably here in the Caucasus. So a production might be a good idea here. Although my problem is We don't have too many units here, but we have a few planes. Well, and the Caucasus is also adjacent. It's a coastal area, so we are able to place some ships there. That's pretty cool. So we're going to gain a lot of income, obviously, because of this big empire. Let's see. Okay, so that is just amazing. The Russians have an income of 54, but of course they have to pay maintenance, also a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's for Europe. Let's do that first. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more for Asia. Okay, so overall they have now an income of, it's not exactly 36, they were somewhere at 4 or something, but they were really doing great. And with all that money they definitely can buy basically all their counters, I guess. It shouldn't be such a big deal. I mean, there are not too many left. So that's what they get here. Let's see what they have if they buy really everything. Yeah, shouldn't be a big deal. Okay, so let's say they buy that. That's it. These are all the counters they can afford. Or no, that exist. So that means now we got 4 ships. That gives them, that would be usually 20. And this is 23. And these guys, they cost 7 each. So that's 14, that's 27, 37. If we have that, oh boy, it's 19. Okay, so they pay 19 bucks for that, which brings them then to 17. And there they go. Okay, so now all these units are placed in the Caucasus. And as you can see here, some of the ships are here next to the Black Sea, while this one is next to the Caspian Sea. So if they want to move into an ocean area, this single ship will move into the Caspian Sea and then can control this area. But of course, most ships might move into the Black Sea, no doubt here. Okay, any more production actions? The Vietnamese, they also do a production action. They are a little afraid of a possible attack of the Free State. So they will produce, and they also have a lot of income, that's for sure here. Okay, so the Vietnamese, they paid 22 for these troops, and that's all they have. They are also their counter stack is now also limited simply by there is nothing left here. So let's see where they're gonna place these guys. Well, definitely some here, and also here. They might kind of divide them, maybe that would be a better idea. Place a few of these defensive forces here. I think that's cool like that. Another one here. That guy here. Okay, so maybe place another one here. On the other hand, yeah, why not? That's cool, I guess. Okay, so we're done with the product. No, we're not. There's even more going on. We see the English do another production. I mean, it's obvious. A war starts and everybody is really trying to do a mobilization and get as many troops as possible on the board. Okay, actually I forgot one thing. And that is, while Ho Chi Minh is here in that city, this city's value is doubled. So it's a 10 city basically. But I think only during production. That can be important because the Italians, they gain points for having cities. So I think that only counts for production cases, but I gotta check that later on. Okay, so and then we're gonna see the English, right? I shouldn't forget about that. So they don't get that much income, but it's not bad too. That's 1, 2, 3, so that's 6. That's 10, 13, 18, 19, 22, and these 3. So that's 25, and they already have a ton of money. So that brings them to 57. Well, that's not true, because of course they have to pay maintenance. So 25, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's 7, 10, 11, 12, 13. So that's an income of 12. Okay, so they are at 49 now. So if they want to stay the most wealthiest nation, they can actually not invest too much here. But we're going to see. They definitely have to build some defensive value, some defensive troops against the Swedes here, in case they plan an attack on England. We don't want to lose London. And, well, we're gonna see. Okay, I guess what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna buy these guys here for 23 bucks. I know it sounds crazy, and I'm not the wealthiest empire anymore, but on the other hand, you know, I'm now pretty much on the safe side. I'm pretty damn sure that there is now no risk that England might get attacked by these guys. And I mean, you know, I'm just wondering now where to place my units. I definitely want to hold Argentina. That's a pretty strong country. So I don't want to lose that one. And I want to place a big force of units. Probably all these. In Mexico. I think that's pretty amazing. Because, you know, from there on, I can start an attack right onto the US capital in the Great Plains. And that could end in a disaster. I mean, the point is, of course the US can also they can also do another production action in the next turn and place all their units there. But I don't think in the end they can fight 3 of these countries. Although they have the Swedes. Damn, I don't know. I don't think so. It will be good enough. Apart from that, Does anybody have some really strong cards? I don't see that now. I don't think there are too many of these combat cards on the table now. Well, but maybe we see a surprise in the next turns somewhere. Okay, so finally we're done with the production action. And we have, by the way, another unit here that I'm going to place in Argentina too. So we come to the trade in progress now. And the Zimbabweans, they want to do a trade. They want to get out of this dark age here. Because it's still in level 6, it halves their glory points. So they definitely want to win that trade. And they're going to throw in that 6. And who are they going to trade with? Not absolutely sure. Well, I don't know. I mean, possibly with the pirate state, I guess. Here's a trade modifier of -1. Yeah, I think they're going to trade with the pirate state. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're just in range. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. So they can trade with them. And the pirate, well, that's not possible because it's the same player. Okay, so I guess instead they're going to trade with the modern state. They are also within range. They have a trade modifier of 0. Well, yeah, what about the modern state now? That's an interesting question. Do they want to win that trade or not? Well, basically they don't want the Zimbabweans to win that trade. I think that's a point here. So they might actually play that 6 here. They don't want to play this one here because they want to start the Koreans later on. They might also say, okay, I think they're going to play that 5. Yeah, they're going to play that 5. Okay. Because in general they want to hold on to that blowback card, which is pretty cool. Okay. Well, so what happens is we draw first for the Zimbabweans. 2 cards. Now that doesn't look good. That's only a 2. So that's an 8 minus 1. That's a 7. And then we have to shuffle the deck here. Okay, so we had a 7, I guess, for the Zimbabweans. And we have, well, that's a 4. A 9 for Benin. So not for the Benin, but for the Free State. So the Free State actually has won that trade, which allows him to move 1 space ahead. And that card goes to the red player, while it's actually not the Free State, we did it with the modern state. Okay, so there we are. So yeah, pretty bad turn for the Zimbabweans until now. They're still stuck here in that dark age, by far the least advanced civilization here. Another one doing a trade action, yeah, the United States, because they are stuck here in that dark age. I mean, they don't get the penalty because of Edison, but they want to move on because Gray wants to win that game. And the states are the best traders, or some of them actually, one of them. So, well, and they have now a scientist, Edison, and that gives them and I think I might have forgotten that until now, that gives them a little advantage during trade. They can play 2 cards and choose which one to use. That could be now an advantage because They can play a very good card, like the 7 here, and a not that good card, like that 5, for example. And then they can see what the other guy has, and they can then still pick their card. So let's see, they're going to trade with the pirate state now, which is down here. They have a -1, so it's very, very unlikely that the pirate state will win that, and therefore they will probably only throw a crappy card in there. Maybe, probably that one. Yeah, the New World. So that's only a 3. So what happens is the US draw first. Oh boy, that's a... Well, that would be a 1 plus 2 is a 3, and then they can choose one of these 2 cards, of course. The pirate state, that's also bad. Okay, the pirate state ended up with a 5 overall. -1 is 4, so that 5 is definitely enough. They can simply throw that in. Actually, I'm not sure if I want to do that. That was a bad idea. I shouldn't have chosen that card because it's the failed negotiation. I don't want to lose that card because somebody else can cancel a trade with that card. So I give away this card, even though it's the good one. But I want to hold on to that one, I guess. Red player gains the glorious pity. It will give him a lot of glory points, and I don't want to do that. So therefore, I'll give him the fate negotiations, which kind of sucks because it will cost me another turn, but now it's simply too late to change my opinion here. Okay, I'll gain this card in return, and these 2 cards go away. And of course now the United States can move 1 space ahead, but it's only going to be 1 space. Simply, well, we have a world war, so advancement is limited to 1 space. Progress is limited to 1 space. Okay, actually the free state, he also wants to do a progress action. He decided before he attacks here, he wants to get out of the Dark Age, which would also cost him glory points. So, well, he's going to throw in that 5, and well, who is he going to trade with now? They have a +0 modifier. Well, so that's not such an easy decision now. Possibly with the Vietnamese, but that could help the grey player then. The Ethiopians could be an option here, but they are controlled by the same player, so I guess it's gonna be the Vietnamese indeed. Excuse me. Yeah, I think they're gonna trade with the Vietnamese. They have a +0 too. So the Vietnamese also want to win that trade. So they're gonna throw in that 7. And well, that's not so great. That's not so great for the Free State now. So the Free State ends up with a 3, so that's an 8. And the Vietnamese, okay, that's a 5, so that's definitely better. So that actually brings the Vietnamese 1 step ahead. So that was probably not the best idea. So that means that card goes to the Free State now. And that one to the Vietnamese. Now I wonder if the pink player can make any use of that glorious pity card. Half the difference between them and the next highest player. That's not so bad. That is quite... No, it's not so much actually. The next highest player would be green. On the other hand, it's still quite a bit. So he might actually play that. Well, fine then. What happens next? We come to the maneuver action. Okay, so the Germans, they will now do a maneuver action. And as I said, we have made a deal here. So we're not going to be too aggressive here. I'm simply going to move here into the Baltic. And maybe with one of these guys... Yeah. I think I'm going to take... damn it, that's a cavalry. Okay, so I'm going to move with the cavalry in here. And with this guy in here. Damn, I'm thinking about... I guess I'm going to move with the infantry over here. That's actually possible. It has a movement value of 3. And... Okay, well, at least I'm big now. Okay, if the Swedes attack, it would kind of suck, but they can only... Basically, they can only attack coastal areas. It's pretty unlikely that they can attack me here in the middle of Europe. And I had now the opportunity to grow quite a bit. Okay, any more maneuver actions? Yes, by the Arabs, actually. And, well, they are now in a difficult situation here. They have quite a few units here. But overall, it's not going to be enough to enter the Caucasus. I think that's for sure. Now the question is, what are they going to do? Maybe they have some special card or something, but I doubt it. The Mesmerizer is not good enough here. You decide which side uses which conflict value on the cards played. Well, that is a neat card at the beginning of the game, but now when the numbers, the values of the units are that high, the card value isn't that interesting anymore. So honestly, I'm not sure what to do here. I absolutely don't know. Basically, it seems like the Russians are actually in a stronger position here. They have about 8 units in the Caucasus. Most of them are really strong. So I'm sure I cannot attack them. Now the question is, do they want to attack us? Should I bring all my units into Armenia? Then we have a stalemate there, and well, again, nobody's going to be happy with that. Thinking if I can come to an agreement here. Okay. Well, I'm not sure what to do now. The Russians, I mean, the point is the following. If the red player, the red player might make peace with the Russians. And then, but on the other hand, I mean, why should the Russians do that? The Russians aren't doing bad. They are technologically ahead, and Armenia would give them oil, the oil at the Caspian Sea, basically. So they might also say, we don't want your peace. Hard to say. How many units are left for the black player here? Well, of course the black player can also start building ships, placing in Armenia, but oh boy. Okay, actually I don't think we will see a peace treaty between these two. I don't see that happening. But now if the black player wants to protect his empire, that means that then he basically has to move, well, more or less all his units here. Otherwise he's going to be overrun by the Russians. I mean, there is still a threat. They can use their fleet here at the Caspian Sea, for example, do an attack here. It is overall all pretty dangerous. So more or less, I mean, we have two movement actions. That means I can nearly place my units wherever I want. So I'm more or less going to do that. Maybe not that one. 1, 2, 3. Now that one, well, it can only move here. We'll see about that. Okay, so that's the situation now. Now the black player might consider, or the Arabs might consider, maybe, I mean, they still can think about an attack in the next turn. I'm not sure, but for now, it took them all their movement actions to bring all these units here onto here into Armenia and Cappadocia. For now. Okay. So right now we don't see a fight between these powers. And that's the end. There are no more movement actions then. We see a destiny action by the modern state. Basically, the modern state wants to discard himself, more or less, and find some replacement which could be useful. I just wonder what we can play here. We have a lot of good cards here. Actually, damn it. Lots of cards I don't want to give away. I think I only draw 2 new cards. Kind of sucks, but these are really strong cards that I have here. Well, the Spanish, again, that could be an option, of course. We might think about that. And the Chu, well, definitely not them. Okay. Well, let's see what we get there. Okay, so that was the Destiny action. We see a single Civilized action by the Italians. Remember, they want to build cities. So they can start playing some artifact cards. Well, look at that. They have the United Nations. That would end that war. But right now they're actually not interested in this. They have a peace treaty. Well, and the Industrial Revolution. Let's see what we got. Okay, so let's see. Following things will be played. First, the Industrial Revolution, played by the Italians on the Italian Empire. So that gives the Italians a glory point. And then this marker goes here above printing. So the empire needs printing and Renaissance to play that. And now let's see what we can do if we have that. There we go. During production, empires that have industrial revolution double the income they receive from all cities they control. Okay. So that's not bad for the Italians because they want to build cities. So, what next? Yeah, okay, I decided actually I want a peace between the Russians and the Arabs. At first I wasn't too overwhelmed by the forces of the Arabs. You know, they didn't impress me very much. But now when they all moved here, well, it's not bad. They have quite a decent army, and a stalemate doesn't help anybody. So I'm going to play that peace treaty, which forbids now both sides of the peace treaty to enter an area controlled by the other side. And of course, both sides also gain a victory point for gaining an artifact here. So I'm going to place one marker here and another one here. So that's a glory point for the Arabs and a glory point for the Russians. So the Arabs are now in some kind of trouble. Basically the only option they have where they can make some attacks and therefore gain some glory points would be to move into Europe and attack Germany. Everything else, doesn't look like such a great idea. If the Germans convert to Islam, well, then the Arabs have a problem. And that might well be happening. Okay. What happens now? Well, we can promote a leader for the Russians. We are in age 7, so there is no specific leader here, but they have 3 picks. No leader. And that's again no leader. And, well, that's a scientist. That's a good thing for trades. So I guess I'm going to place this guy here in the capital. Okay. Adopt religion or government. Well, we have both, so we don't want to change that. We can modernize. I wonder if it is possible, actually. I think we can modernize these guys into tanks. And that guy, of course. But that's probably it. Yeah. I think I'm... Oh, no. Here we go. Okay, there we are. And we can also urbanize. No, wait a second, I made a mistake here. I'm actually playing with the Italians. Damn it, I mixed that up because of that peace treaty here. Okay. And of course the scientist does not go to the Russians, but to the Italians. But they have only 2 picks, so that means they didn't manage to promote a leader. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm fine here. So then the Italians can urbanize, and that's definitely something they want to do. They will level up these 2 cities to level 5 cities. Okay, there we go. And remember, during production, these give now each $10. So that's a lot of money. Yeah, so that's the civilized action of the Italians. Nobody else does a civilized action, so the last thing that happens is now the French are going to be discarded. There's no real future for them. They've lost Paris, and yeah. There are new powers in Europe now. Okay. So there we go. Okay. So, and then we go to the harvest glory phase. Because of the World War, the empires don't advance on the progress track. Let's start here with the yellow player. Well, he's not doing that great. The modern state only generates 1 point. It's really time for him to go away. I mean, this is completely worthless. But the Germans are doing quite well. They are the 2nd biggest in Europe, so it's actually 3 points, and they control 1 oil. Down here, actually. So that is then 4 points for the Germans, but I think they are still in a dark age. Yeah, but they have Einstein. Okay, yeah, they have Einstein, so they don't suffer that penalty. So it is indeed 4 points for the Germans. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And now we see, how is the red player doing? Well, I guess not too well. Okay, so Zimbabwe is still in a dark age, so it's only 2 points for them. The Arabs, okay, that's, well, 1 point, 4 points for the Arabs. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not bad, but as long as they don't conquer land from a non-Islamic country, they will not gain really many points, you know. But okay, still they might actually have, they might have the most artifacts though. Yeah, they do, because there is also that peace treaty here, so they have now 3 artifacts and nobody else. Well, Russia actually has also 3 artifacts, but the Arabs are before Russia, so that means that yeah, they have the most artifacts, so that gives them an extra glory point here. So it's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, which isn't so bad. And the pirate state sucks. But okay, he's at the beginning basically. So what about the Portuguese? I gotta check later if I have done the Arabs now twice. I think I did actually. 1, 2, 3. I think actually the red player is here. Pretty sure about that. Yeah, he started somewhere here, I guess. Okay. Now the Portuguese, well, they basically only control their homeland, and that's it. So that's the green player. That's only 1 point for the Portuguese. The Russians, okay, let me see. That's again, I guess, 4 points for the Russians. 1, 2, 3, 4. Biggest in Europe, third biggest in Asia, and yeah, that's it done. The Italians, well, that's 1 point for Italy, and now they might actually have some points for the cities. So they have here 10 for the cities, which is a lot. There are a few others that have also something like that. For example here, I mean, there is no doubt these guys have, I don't know, 19. The question is now, how much do the Vietnamese have? They have 8. Okay, there is that 5 city. Okay, so that means these two are definitely ahead, the Vietnamese and that the Kashmir. But what about the others? Might they be number 3? Maybe. So the Zimbabweans, they also have 10. Okay, so that means that they are not third because the Zimbabweans are ahead in turn order. Bad luck here. Okay. So that's only 1 point then for the Italians. That's not so great. And now we're going to see the United States once again, but they're no longer in a dark age. And they have Edison anyway. So that's 2, 4, 5. I gotta count that. I think the USSR, the Russians are bigger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, okay. No doubts here. So they're only the second biggest country, the second biggest Christian country, so that's 5 then. What about the money? Yeah, they have the most money. So they gain 8 glory points. That is indeed impressive. The Vietnamese gain their usual 5 glory points for being biggest in Asia, number 1 in Southeast Asia and their homeland. And the Swedes, well, that's interesting. 1 point for their homeland, and they probably have the biggest fleet, although I'm not absolutely convinced here. I gotta count that. There are some with a big fleet now. Okay, so from what I counted, the only empire with the same amount, with the same number of ships are the Vietnamese. So now the gray player can decide, because he controls both, which is number 1, and of course the Swedes are number 1, so they have now the biggest fleet. So that gives them 3 victory points. That's amazing. So they have nearly now 300 victory points, and if it goes on like this, they will actually have more than 100 victory points more than the pink player in a few turns. Okay, so as you can see, the game is progressing very slowly. That was a really long turn, but we had tons of production actions. But actually, I think during this World War we might see long turns, with some fights going on, and yeah, who knows what's going to happen. Okay, so hope to see you in the next video or on lonesomegamer.com. Bye.